Hello, everyone. Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, January 28th. My name is Dr. Glenna. Of course, I teach the idea of therapy is a lifestyle. Therapy is a lifestyle is the idea of addressing your mental health before it becomes mental illness. And today, welcome to the happy hour. The happy hour is a free weekly webinar. It happens every Wednesday at 1:30 Pacific Standard Time, where we discuss many different psychodynamic topics. I'm going to be teaching for roughly about an hour. And just a lot of different topics, a lot of different things. The happy hour is to be used for educational purposes only. This is not to be used in lieu of any mental health therapy, meaning you don't say, I don't need to go to therapy. I don't need to take my medication because I went to the happy hour. That's not what we do here. The happy hour is to be used in lieu or in conjunction with other things that you're doing with your therapist. This is intended to give you some more information about yourself, to give you some tips and tools, very practical tips and tools for things that you can do to improve your overall life, improve your quality of life, and just better understand yourself as a whole. Again, my name is Dr. Glenna. Thank you very much for being here. I have a private practice in Torrance, California, where I am currently accepting clients. So if you are a resident of the great state of California, which is very large, anywhere from San Diego to Stanislaus and everything in between, I would love to work with you. Make sure you visit my website, www.drglenna.net, DRGLENNA.net. And I would love to work with you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides and we are going to get started. All right. Welcome to the happy hour. Today, we're going to be talking about picking better apples. What does that mean? We're going to be talking about identifying unsafe people. Also, hello, my name is Dr. Glenna, and I always try to give a little fun fact. Oh, I love flowers. I do. I love arranging flowers. Yes. So, fun fact about Dr. Glenna, in addition to who I am. Okay. You have selected the people around you. You have cherry picked, apple picked every single person around you. Whether consciously or unconsciously, you hand selected the relationships around you. Your work environment, your friends, your social circle, your family, your neighbors. You selected the people around you and you selected the people that you surround yourself with. Now, I called this one Pick Better Apples because there's an Erykah Badu song. I don't know if you guys remember from the 90s. It's about 90, I feel like it's about 96, roughly about 30 years ago, if anybody else feels like telling their age. And she says, I pick my friends like I pick my fruit, right? And the whole song is about the concept of the chorus is, if you don't want to be down with me, you don't want to be from my apple tree. Like I am selecting people based on a certain criteria, based on a certain quality. And I'm very intentional about who I reach out, who I grab, and who I keep in my hand and bring close to my heart. Okay. You, whether you realize it or not, you have selected all the people that are currently around you, good, bad, or otherwise. Okay. I know sometimes we say, I didn't pick my coworkers, but you pick your coworkers in the sense that once you get there, you choose to stay there. You applied for the job, you chose to take the job. Even if somebody offered you, that happens. Like, hey, your skill set is a really good fit for something that I'm trying to do. I would love to have you. You still selected the people by agreeing to be a part of it. Okay, even your family members. You don't select them in the sense that you are born into whatever family you're born into, but you select in terms of relationally how you whether or not you stay close to them or how you interact with them. So I need you to first digest the concept that anybody that is around you relationally, you have selected to be around you. Why would you select an unsafe person? We kind of ask ourselves, well, why, if I can choose who I'm around, if I can choose relationally who's close to me and who's not close to me, what would make me select an unsafe person? I always give my disclaimer, and I always seem to give my disclaimer like a couple minutes in. My bad. But my disclaimer, my lists are not exhaustive, meaning just because I don't say something, it doesn't mean that it's not true, but I just like to give a number of examples, and then whatever lands for you is it's true for you. Okay. So why would you select an unsafe person? Because unsafe people feel familiar and unsafe actually feels safe. Now, I'm not saying that unsafe feels good. I'm just saying that it feels familiar. For example, if you are everybody in your family, all the women in your family or all the men in your family, they all yell. That's how they get their point across. They yell, oh my goodness, ah, they yell, their personalities get real big, they're their body composition, it just gets really, really big. Their posture just gets really, really big. What is familiar to you is a person that yells. So that is what you consider safe. It's not that you desire it. It's not that it's comfortable. It might not even be pleasant, but it's familiar enough to where that is what your internal nervous system, your psyche deems to be safe. Unsafe actually feels safe because it's familiar. It's what you've known. If you're accustomed to being around people that are a little shisty, when you're around other shisty people, you're like, that is just how people are. That is just how you've resolved how the world works. If you are accustomed to being around people that are rude to you, then your understanding of the world is people are rude. And so that feels familiar, and you find yourself gravitating towards these places where this is just how people are. Unsafe feels safe, meaning you haven't even distinguished safe from unsafe. So unsafe feels familiar. And so you select it. You keep gravitating, going right back to the same thing over and over and over. And you keep recreating these experiences for yourself because, again, it just feels familiar versus stepping out and doing something that doesn't feel as familiar. Why else would you select an unsafe person? Traumatic experiences created an adaptive self. Trauma is anything that overwhelms the system. That's Dr. Glenna's bootleg definition of trauma. So when you experience something that your system deems to be uncomfortable or scary, you created an adaptive self, which is the version of yourself that has adapted in order to get through things. For example, let's just use a yelling example. You were in school and your teacher like yelled at you and embarrassed you in front of the classroom because, you asked to go to the bathroom after recess, right? Some relatively reasonable request, and they took that as a moment to yell at you and embarrass you. Your adaptive self learned, don't ask for your needs to be met. So then you select people where you are accustomed to, in this scenario, I don't ask for my needs to be met. You're not showing up as your authentic self because your adaptive self learned, in order to prevent myself from getting harmed, in order to prevent the big bad boogeyman from getting me, I have to adapt. And this is one of the ways that your mind, your psyche, your nervous system taught you to keep yourself safe. So, why would you choose an unsafe person? Because you went through something traumatic and a version of yourself developed in an effort to adapt, trying to keep you safe. And now we are showing up with that adaptive self and not with our true authentic self. A lot of times after this type of things happen, we're not even really sure who our authentic self is. Also, emotional availability on both parts. Sometimes we select unsafe people because they are emotionally unavailable. And to a certain degree, that makes us comfortable because nobody has to be vulnerable. This can be nice and superficial. Nobody really has to dive all the way in. They're emotionally unavailable. Perfect. I don't have to really show myself. I don't have to really be committed. I don't have to really be involved. Also, why would I select an unsafe person? Because I am emotionally unavailable. So there's a part of me that doesn't really want healthy, authentic connection. There's a part of me that wants a little tension, that wants a little space, that wants a little bit of you over there and I'm over here. And we only access each other at a very surface level. So it could be one or both parties are emotionally unavailable, and that is what keeps us at a bit of a distance. Also, when there is tension, when tension in the relationship is normalized, when it is normal for you to experience tension, you think all best friends have knockdown, drag out fights. That's normal. What do you mean? Like friends fight, and that's just how it goes. You ever been to Miami? Go to Miami with a friend group. Everybody fights. Nobody comes back friends. And then you kiss and make up, and a couple months later, you're friends again. If tension in a relationship is normal, you will select emotionally unsafe people because in your mind, that level of safety doesn't even exist. Your whole body is accustomed to there being tension, to people being at odds, to there being fights, emotional, like argument fights, also fist fights. There are people who believe that certain relationships include fist fighting and we can just go on and move forward and it's business as usual. Okay, so if that was normalized in your life on any level, then you will select emotionally unsafe people that come with these settings because it's normal. You don't even think to say, That's not an okay trait. That's not something that I want around me. Your body is accustomed to it. Also, similarly, hurt, shade. It's normal. Making snarky comments to one another, gossiping about people in hurtful and harmful ways, throwing shade to one another, like, whatever, oh, you think you are, whatever. We are accustomed to people saying those things to us. We are accustomed to saying those things to other people. People can say hurtful things, and we're just like, that's just how it is. That's just how people are. And we are so used to it that we don't recognize, hey, that's hurtful too. I don't have to actually socialize with a person like that. It is okay for me to move away from people that are knowingly harmful, knowingly throwing shade, knowingly doing and saying things that are hurtful to me. Also, if your understanding of love is that it is conditional, then you will continually select unsafe partners. What does that look like? It is your belief that in order for you to receive love, it has to be under a certain condition. That condition could be I have to work my fingers to the bone. I have to take whatever you give. I have to disregard my feelings and just pretend like I don't have an experience, and then I can have you. It's under the condition that I self-sacrifice in some way that is not healthy and not authentic to what I really need. If you believe that love is conditional, you don't just get love because of who you are. You don't just get love because, hey, your mother feels like you are my child, and by default, I love you and I'm going to love you unconditionally. If your understanding of love from just regular sources is that there has to be some sort of condition, and it usually means that I have to sacrifice or give of myself in a way that's not healthy and that's not authentic for me, then you will choose unsafe people that have that very specific requirement for you. Now, point of clarification. In romantic relationships, there are a certain amount of conditions that will, so there are a certain amount of conditions that do need to be met in romantic relationships. This is just a carve out caveat because sometimes people get thrown off in that. They're like, oh, you have to love me unconditionally. Love in romantic relationships and even in friendships, there are some conditions, and some of the conditions might be you got to be respectful. Right? You don't get to be disrespectful and then we receive the same love. That's not what I mean. That's not the type of conditions that I'm referring to. I'm referring to when the condition is that you have to give of yourself in a way that is unhealthy, right? The condition is that you have to forego your dreams. The condition is that you have to ignore your needs and completely cater to the other person. That's when I say that you believe that love is conditional. Yes, there are healthy conditions for friendships and relationships. Okay. Um, why would you select an unsafe person? Because of self-preservation. If deep down inside of you, if you believe that if you stand up for yourself, or if you speak up, or if you say no, you will be lonely, you will be isolated, you won't be able to survive. Like maybe there's a belief that financially I have to be around this person because I can't afford to live. Rent is high, gas is high. I can't afford to live unless I keep this person around. Sometimes it is self-preservation on a practical level in terms of your practical needs being met. And sometimes it's self-preservation on an emotional level. If you think about it, when you're a kid, you are 100% dependent on the grown-ups and the authoritative figures in your life. So, if you learn very early on that such and such will mistreat you, but you can't say anything because then how are you going to eat dinner? Who's going to pack your lunch? Where are you going to live? If daddy is mean to you and you try to stick up for yourself, you will get kicked out of the house. So you learn he might be unsafe, but in order for me to maintain a level of self-preservation, I have to accept it and I have to endure it. And that also happens not just on a practical level in terms of food, clothing, and shelter, but it also happens on a social and emotional level. If I stick up to this girl because she's being mean to me, I will be isolated from the friend group. And I can't handle being isolated and abandoned. I don't want to be the pariah of the friend group. So, for self preservation, I'm going to accept this unsafe person in my life and in my space. Why would you select an unsafe person? Because you have lost the calibration of your instinct. Your instinct knows when something is off. Your instinct knows when someone has said something that is an indicator of something being a little awry. You know, when a potentially abusive person does a little something or makes a comment where you're like, that's not okay. Your instinct knows when something is a little off. Sometimes it might take a couple more instances because you want to make sure that you're not overreacting, but your instinct knows. And so, how do we end up selecting unsafe people? When kind of the calibration of your instinct gets off. Think of it like a compass. Like a compass where you're actually looking at the needle move according to what direction that you're pointing in. When you hold the compass, you wait a second and it might jiggle for just a second, but after a while, it's going to settle and it's going to point definitively in a certain direction to let you know what direction that you're going in. If the calibration is off, it will never settle, and it's hard to get a read on what it's trying to tell you. If you have had a number of experiences where you've been gaslit or where you've just been, made to feel like your feelings don't matter or what you are describing is not the true instance of what is actually happening, the calibration of your instinct gets off. So when you feel like, is that person unsafe? You're not sure anymore, right? You can't hear your internal dialogue anymore. Like your internal spirit is trying to tell you, but the calibration is a little shaky. So you don't feel like you can trust what's happening internally and trust the message that's being sent to you. And also, if you found safety in being non-confrontational, then you will select unsafe people all day long. If there's a part of you that's like, if I just don't say nothing, just let it ride, just endure, just close your mouth and it'll be okay. Let the bully be the bully. As long as you got home safe, you'll be okay. Let this person, say a lot of mean and disparaging and ugly comments towards you at work or in the staff meeting or in your religious environment. If you've learned that not being confrontational will keep you safe, you will select unsafe people because there's a part of you that will not confront them. There's a part of you that believes that the way to handle unsafe people is to allow them to continue to be unsafe and just quietly endure instead of confronting them or demanding that their behavior be different or better or just more considerate of you and your needs. How do we even know if they're unsafe? How do we know? Now, here's the tricky part because I'm using the word unsafe, but for a lot of people, they don't even really understand what that means. A lot of times, when we think about safety, we think about physical safety. We think about, am I at risk of being physically harmed, of being stabbed, of being physically attacked? And we underestimate the impact of emotional safety. Right? Emotional safety has to do with people that are not going to intentionally hurt our feelings, right? Our loved ones will let us down. Our loved ones will mishandle us. They will hurt our feelings from time to time. But when someone is intentionally hurting your feelings, or when someone is hurting your feelings with no regards for you and no intentions of actually doing better, they're like, well, I don't care if your feelings got hurt or not. Probably an unsafe person. Again, my lists are never exhausted, but let's go over a couple of things. And I want you to think if you have an unsafe person around you, whether it's a partner, a friend of me, a coworker. I just want you to take some time and just consider, do you have any unsafe people around you according to the things that I'm going to share? They leave you feeling triggered. Dr. Glenna's bootleg definition of triggers are unhealed hurt. So if there's something that happens and it's relatively innocuous, it's just kind of something in the world, but it makes you feel uneasy, unsettled, it makes you feel unsafe, it's probably a trigger that you have. Now, while I do not believe that the world needs to succumb to your triggers, I'm a firm believer that it is your responsibility to heal from whatever it is that is triggering you. With that being said, when you have a person around you that is aware of your triggers, and they actively do things with no regards for your triggers, that's probably an unsafe person. Okay. If you tell your best friend, you know what, I'm really, really afraid of dogs. I'm working on it, but I'm really afraid of dogs. And your friend brings a dog around you and they know that you are triggered. That's an unsafe person. Okay. Also, even if the person doesn't know what your triggers are, but you notice that after every single interaction, you feel dysregulated, you just feel off, they're triggering you, they're probably an unsafe person. There's probably something about the dynamic where your nervous system knows this person is potentially or they are emotionally harmful, and your nervous system is trying to warn you. We've seen that before, even if it didn't happen to us, or maybe it did happen to us. We've seen that. We've heard heard that. We know those comments. We saw a movie where someone did that and we didn't like it in the movie. We experienced it before and we didn't like it when we experienced it. We did not like being called stupid. We didn't like our outfit being picked apart. We didn't like being critiqued with no warmth. So that makes you feel triggered. So a person, after you've spent some time with the person, hung out with them, talked on the phone, been at work with them, and you realize that you feel triggered, there might be an unsafe person. Another very clear one is they are disrespectful. You get to determine what makes you feel respected and disrespected, but I do think that there are some kind of general things that have to do with respect, like, saying hello, looking people in the eye. There's some general things that make people feel respected overall. But when a person is disrespectful to you as a person, to your time, to you in terms of your gender, to you in terms of your work or your effort, disrespectful to your physical house. They come into your house and you say, "Hey, do you mind please taking your shoes off?" And they're like, "I'm not taking my shoes off." And they parade through your whole house with, Timberland boots on. When people are disrespectful to you, again, we're not talking about people that make a mistake. There's a difference between a person that makes a mistake because they didn't know, they misstepped. Your loved one will hurt your feelings. It's going to happen. They're not perfect and they can't always 100% know. But we're talking about people that do things with no regards for your feelings. Okay. Or even when they do know that they've hurt your feelings, they don't care. They don't make any efforts to change. A person whose decisions leave you vulnerable or in danger. A person that operates in a way where the fallout of the decisions that they make will leave you vulnerable. The person where you're like, do you realize that because you did that, I caught the brunt of it? Because of your financial decision, it left me having to foot the bill. It left me in a very vulnerable position. Do you realize that by you, going to the boss and having that conversation, it left me in a very sensitive and vulnerable position. You had no regards for how that was going to impact me. Or even worse, they put you in a position where you're going to be in actual danger. Hey, that friend that insists on hanging out with that other person, and you're like, I think they got drugs in the trunk. I don't think we should be in the car with them. A person who will put you in a compromising situation with no regards for your feelings or how their choices will impact you. People that are argumentative. I am an advocate of people being assertive and advocating for themselves, speaking up for themselves. I'm an advocate of people having an opinion about things, a desire for certain things, and saying, no, I'm not comfortable with that. That's not something that I want to do. Advocate for that, 100% chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, no notes. There's a difference between advocating for yourself and sharing what you like and what you prefer versus being argumentative. Argumentative people will argue with anybody. And it's always funny because the argumentative people, they tend to always think the other person is a problem. They always think the other person made me mad. Oh, if they didn't do this, then I wouldn't have to. They always feel like they're being invited to an argument that they're not necessarily being invited to. The other trait about argumentative people is it is pervasive, meaning they get into an argument with a coworker, their partner, their friends, their parents, their siblings. Like they just are argumentative across the board. We're not talking about a partner when you guys are having some tense moments. There's always a season in a relationship where you find yourself being at odds more than other times. That's not what we mean. We mean a person where their personality is argumentative. Trust, just wait on it. It'll make it to you. If it hasn't already, it will make it to you. Don't think that you're exempt. But more than likely, they are an emotionally unsafe person. Person that has no desire to work on themselves or improve. Okay. It ain't even a fine line. There is a line between, hey, this is who I am and I'm comfortable in who I am versus, well, that's just what it is. Deal with it. Okay. You can be who you are. It's great. A lot of the work that I do with my clients is really about figuring out who you are, sans the trauma, separated from all the poor experiences that you've been through. Who are you just as a person? But there's a difference between that and a person that's like, well, that's just how I am. Deal with it. So a person that has no desire to improve, they're not making any efforts, especially once you bring things to their attention, probably emotionally unsafe. They don't admit their weaknesses or vulnerability. They do not admit their weaknesses or vulnerability. These are the people who their answer will shapeshift just to be right. They can say, well, because wolves, they only howl when the temperature is 50 degrees or less. And you're like, no, I think they howl when they get hungry. Well, I mean, I think they howl too. They will not express any level of vulnerability. on any level. They will not express any level of weakness. You will never hear them say, I'm not really good at that, or I don't know how to do that, or just, oh, I didn't know that. I've never thought about that. They do not express weakness. They do not express any level of vulnerability. This includes emotional vulnerability. These are the people that have a hard time expressing love and affection. People do it differently. Some people are very verbally affectionate. Some people are very physically affectionate. But we're talking about the people that are very reserved and will not show or love, appreciation, affection to situations where they probably should be showing love and affection. People that gossip or they discuss others poorly. We're not talking about venting. We're talking about people that are always looking for something nasty to say about another person, always looking for an opportunity to tear another person down. People that consistently highlight your weaknesses and deficits. Again, we're not talking about constructive criticism. We all should be open to feedback. We all have room to grow. We're talking about people that somehow their word count is very high on all the things that you're doing wrong. I know you're not good at that. Like, I mean, you put the outfit together, but them shoes don't really go. They are always taking every opportunity possible to point out a weakness, to point out a deficit, to point out something that you're not doing well. And they're condescending, just in general, just condescending. The way that they speak to you, the way that they speak to other people, their outlook on the world, condescending. They have small, insidious behavior that drains you over time. Again, everybody gets to be irritated. Everybody gets to have a day. We don't expect everybody to be flowers and rainbows 24 hours a day, but they have small, insidious behavior that after a while, you're like, my God, it's hard to be around this person. My goodness, like you walk around with a little rain cloud over your head all the time. And this is draining. It's draining being around you. It's exhausting trying to have a conversation. I feel like I'm trying to be a cheerleader with a bass that's trying to lift you up at all times. Unsafe people, they lie. They tell partial truths and they lie by omission. The difference is they lie outright. Did you go to the store? Yes, I went to the store, and they never went to the store. It's an outright lie. Nothing about it is true. They also tell partial truths. Did you go to the store? Yeah, I mean, I went to the store. Did you go inside the store and buy the thing? No, partial truths, little bit of truth, little bit of lie. And they make it your responsibility. It's like a game to play guess and check to see how much of it is true, how much of it is not true, right? Like, oh, did you cheat with that girl? Cheat? No, I didn't cheat, but I talked to her. Partial, partial lies. They make it your responsibility to try to sift through it to feel how much is the truth and how much is a lie. And they lie by omission. Meaning they leave out certain details so that they didn't actively lie about the detail, but they leave out key details by omission to give you an impression of the truth. And if you don't ask the right questions, you don't know that there's holes in their story that you need to be asking more questions about. People that have these characteristics on a regular basis are emotionally unsafe people. Emotionally unsafe people manipulate, meaning they will lean and put pressure on certain parts of the situation, certain parts of people in order to get the desired outcome. It's not necessarily authentic. It's not what the other person has agreed to, a full picture of what was written. But manipulative people will make sure that they get their desired outcome through lying, through coercion, through emotional manipulation, like through tears. Doesn't mean that you get to be sad, but some people will turn on the waterworks in an effort to create guilt to manipulate the situation. Controlling, controlling. People are like, home. Some people are like to go home with you because I need to see where you are. Like, hey, I like your outfit, but that dress is it's really short. Like, your bum is kind of hanging out the bottom of it. You sure you want to wear that versus you wear what I say you wear. There's a difference between love and affection and controlling. Emotionally unsafe in romantic relationships. They parents that try to control their kids, bosses that try to control their staff. All of these things still stand in all these different areas. Um, they demand things from you that aren't warranted or appropriate. Emotionally unsafe people will demand things from you that aren't warranted or appropriate. You decided, I want to make some new friends. I want to add some new people to my girl gang. And you meet somebody and you met this girl a month ago and you're like, hey, I'm having a little something. Meet me down at the store for some cupcakes. And they demand that you pick them up and introduce them to your friends as you guys are best friends. They demand things like, hey, that's not really appropriate for the situation. Okay, they demand your emotional attention. They demand your financial resources. They demand you in ways that it's not appropriate. Like, yeah, I really shouldn't be doing all of this for you. Our relationship is not that. I have other obligations. It's just not appropriate for the setting. They are easily offended and highly reactive. These are people that you are scared to say something to because you don't know how they're going to react. They're like, okay, I know he's going to come out of a bag on me. I already know. I don't even want to have to say anything to this person because I know that they're going to have an over the top reaction to anything that I have to say. Anything. It could be warranted, it could not be warranted. They make the whistleblower the problem, not the problem itself. Now, this happens a lot. You have a person that says, hey, Joe Schmo, when you do that, it hurts my feelings. And Joe Schmo says, you and your hurt feelings are the problem. And they shift the focus away from the problem and they make the person that had the nerve to speak up being the problem. The problem is that you complain about everything. That's what the real problem is. The problem is that you always got something to say. You always bringing something up and they switch the problem around so that it's no longer even about what you brought up to begin with, and they make the person the problem. How dare you speak up? How dare you set a boundary? You always got something to say. You and your boundaries. And unsafe people will dismiss and minimize your feelings and your experiences. You try to say that was really hurtful. And they're like, it wasn't even that bad. It's not even that serious. It's not that deep. Like, you are so sensitive. Oh my God, you always got something that you crying about. They will dismiss and minimize your feelings and your experiences, oftentimes to highlight their own. How dare you have an experience? Because if you have an experience, we can't focus on me. Oh my gosh. So they will dismiss your experience, oftentimes to highlight their own. And they will gaslight you. Gaslighting is when a person, it's a psychological technique where a person pretends like the reality is not the reality. The goal of it is to make you rely on their reality. So, I mean, you didn't have to speak to me that way. I didn't speak to you no type of way. Yes, you did. You yelled at me and you were really short and curt with me, and that was really hurtful. I wasn't even that short. That's not even what happened. Outright gaslighting you, trying to convince you that what happened is not the reality, and thereby you don't have any basis to feel the way that you feel. Who is safe? Okay. Who is safe? As we go through this list, I want you to think about who this reminds you of. Sometimes we have a lot of really safe people in our life, and sometimes we don't. Okay. And so we want to create a bit of a muscle memory in order to determine what characteristics in a person help us to feel safe so that we can extract it from different people. Like, oh, I see it in this person. I see it. All of my coworkers are not safe, but I see it in that coworker. Like, oh, I'm realizing my partner does some things that gets on my nerves. Oh, but I see the whole of them. They are actually emotionally safe. Okay. So I want you to think about some people and some experiences where you feel emotionally safe so that we can start to expand on that. I'm going to give you a conceptualized list of what it looks like conceptually, just some ideas, but I want you mentally to start matching it to some experiences that you've had with real people so that you can better identify who is safe. And then we can grow that list of people in your life that are actually safe. So, who is safe? People that are respectful. Now, like I said earlier, the opposite of respect is disrespect. And I think that there is a general way that we know that somebody is being respectful. There's a couple of things that are just generic forms of respect. Also, in that, there are some very specific things that are specific to you that make you feel like a person is being respectful. So that's for you to determine the little nitty-gritty things that really land. But in general, a healthy person, an emotionally safe person is respectful. They are respectful of you as a person. They're respectful of your thoughts, of your ideas, of your creative things that you like to do. They're respectful of your home, of your time, of your money, of your relationship, of your job, of your need to sleep and rest and recharge yourself. They are respectful. An emotionally safe person will listen to your needs. You can go to them and say, "Hey, I can I get a hug? I just really need to connect." And they'll give you a hug. You can say, "I just really need to talk. Do you have the bandwidth? Can I download a little bit? I just want to talk for a little bit." And they will listen to your needs. Oftentimes, they'll do something to actually address your needs. Emotionally safe people are typically warm, right? Not hot body, but warm, emotionally warm. You kind of get a vibe from them like, yeah, like you're safe, you're easy to talk to, you're friendly. They're not closed off, they're not stoic, they're not cold, but they're typically warm. A caveat to that is emotionally safe people can be closed off to you. It depends on the nature of the relationship. Every single person that is emotionally safe does not owe you their safety. Everybody is allowed to cherry pick their own apples and their own people that kind of go in their basket that go with them. So don't ever think that just because you see a person that is stoic, like, oh, they must not be warm. They might be warm, but everybody is allowed to decide who they are warm to. So as we go through this list, we're also talking about people that are specifically in your circle, right? So we don't expect the same level of warmth for every single coworker. We don't expect that for every single family member. It just kind of depends on how close you are to people. Okay? Because I don't want people thinking everybody that's stoic is not warm. Not necessarily. Everybody is allowed to reserve who they share themselves with in that manner. But emotionally safe people are typically warm people. They are reliable. They do what they say they're going to do. If they can't do it, they're probably going to say, I can't do it. And if they can do it, they're going to come through. You know, if you need to ask for help, you know if you can go to them for help. You know, if they say they're going to show up, they're going to be there at a certain time. They say they're going to be there at 10 o'clock, they're going to be there at 10 o'clock. They have good character. Character is what you do when nobody's watching. Character is what happens when nobody's watching. You know, did you like cut the line? Did you cut corners? You know, did you lie? Did you cheat? Did you steal? Character is what you do when nobody's watching. So in general, they have good character and they've shown you through their actions that they have good character. You have some good examples, some concrete examples that you've seen for yourself that this person actually has good character. It's not solely based on what you want them to have. These are traits that you've actually seen them exhibit. They also can regulate their emotions. These are people that are like, I'm really angry right now. I need a minute to myself. Just give me some space to kind of process and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. They can go to their corner, they can regulate their emotions. Emotionally unsafe people don't know how to regulate their emotions. They flipping tables. They're going off. They're saying nasty things. They're cutting things off prematurely because, they got riled up in their emotions. Okay. All of this is with a grain of salt. A good person can slip. I've said it a couple times before and I'm going to say it again. People that love you will hurt you. Just because they hurt you doesn't mean they're completely unsafe. It makes them human. Everybody is allowed to make human mistakes. But typically, emotionally safe people are pretty good, or they at least have a desire to regulate their emotions. Emotionally safe people take accountability. They have the ability to say, you know what? I messed up. I missed the mark on that one. I went off too early. I didn't react fast enough. I jumped the gun on that one. I mishandled that. I messed up. Players mess up too. Okay. Emotionally safe people, they'll take accountability. They don't let you beat them up about it, but they will take accountability for their actions. And often they will apologize for their actions. Right in the same vein, they will make adjustments. They will say, you know what? I didn't even realize that I was doing that. I didn't even realize that your experience of me included that. I thought that I was just moving along and everything was just fine. So I'm sorry. Give me a minute to make some adjustments. Let me figure out how to be different, how to do things differently because, I want to be better because I care about you, care about your feelings. In the same vein, emotionally safe people will validate your feelings and they will not shame you for having feelings. They will validate your feelings. They will say things like, I'm sorry. I can understand how you would feel that way. I think anybody in your position would have a similar response to what you're feeling. And they won't shame you. Like, what's wrong with you? Oh my God, like you're so sensitive. Like, oh, you're overreacting. They won't shame you for having an emotional experience. They will validate your feelings, actually. They will celebrate you. You ever have that person where you share something and they ain't never clap for you? Like, oh, look, I started my new job. And they're like, oh, good for you. Emotionally safe people, they're not threatened by your good thing. They're not threatened by your promotion. They're not threatened by your new job. They're not threatened, by your new car. They're not threatened by your weight loss. They're not threatened by your success. They will celebrate you and all the great things that are happening for you, even if it's hard. Even if they're like, dang, like I wish I was making more money. I wish I got promoted. I went up for promotion. I didn't get mine. Even if there's something for them that is not happening, they're still able to celebrate you. They also have a curiosity about you. It's one thing to be like, oh, I know her. I don't need to learn anything else about her. Emotionally safe people are curious. Like, oh, I didn't know you didn't like cheese. Really? So what do you eat? Like when you have tacos, like how do you make your tacos? They're curious about you as a person, about the big things, the small things, the little idiosyncratic things that make you who you are, your personality traits and all of that. They're curious about you and they show a healthy curiosity into who you are as a person. They also have a respect for your belongings, for your time, for your physical space, for your boundaries, for your feelings. They respect all of those things. They call before they come to your house. They respect if you're like, hey, I just really had a really long day at work. I need some time. They don't show up at your house unannounced. They respect what you have to say. They respect what you need. Emotionally, I'm sorry, I think I have validates. Oh, I don't. They're able to validate others. Emotionally unsafe people will treat other people better than they treat you. It's always a telltale sign. You're like, dang, why are you so nice to that stranger? But to me, you're rude. And that's a trick because they're trying to give you the impression that they're actually a nice person. And then so it confuses you because you're like, well, they're nice to this, and this person, but they're just not nice to me. It makes you think you're doing something wrong. I think that's a whole nother happy hour. But emotionally safe people, they are able to validate you, but they are also able to validate others, meaning they are not reserving that skill set just for you, but they're really a jerk to the rest of the world. Emotionally safe people are emotionally safe all the time. They're polite to you, they're polite to strangers. They can validate your feelings, they can validate their children's feelings. They can validate your feelings, they can validate their coworkers' experience. This is not reserved and special just for you. Why does that matter? Because a person that is only being kind and warm to you, as soon as you make them angry, they'll turn it off. They'll lose that ability. Like a person that's only changing for you is that's not really who they are, right? They're just putting on a show for you and your feelings. So a person that has this skill set both with you and with other people is a really emotionally safe person. They are also able to accept others' freedoms and liberties. Meaning they're like, and they're not the person that is overly critical about people having differences, like, oh, he shouldn't wear his hair like that. She shouldn't wear her hair like that. Why is she dressed like that? Why do people do that? They accept, just live and let live. They're not overly critiquing people that are different from them, that look different, talk different, have different beliefs. They are accepting of other people's sense of autonomy and be like, hey, that's not what I would wear, but you like it, I love it. That's not, well, I believe something different, right? I believe this and you believe that. And okay, you're allowed to believe what you want to believe. If you want to know about what I believe, come talk to me. But they allow other people to be different from themselves. They also have empathy without explicit proof. One of the worst forms of empathy is people that require you to go down all of the ugly bits and pieces of your situation before they determine whether or not they're going to have empathy. It's like, oh, you and your girlfriend broke up. Well, what happened? Right? They need to know all the fine details to determine if they are going to give you any empathy. They need all of the ugly, dirty thing. Oh, so you don't have no money? Well, what happened? And they make you detail every dollar that you spent that got your savings down to 20 bucks before they have any empathy for you. Okay. So emotionally safe people have the ability to express empathy towards you without requiring explicit proof of why you deserve empathy. They're just empathetic people just because they are empathetic people. They also have consistent behavior. You know what you see is what you get. Okay. They grow, they change over time. That's fine. But for the most part, what you see is what you get. Who they are, their character at work, their character in their social circle, their character at home, they are consistent in terms of who they are. Now, the version of them, they might be more professional at work, they might be more playful at home, they might be more casual and relaxed in a social environment, that's fine. But the core of them remains the same. And they support your autonomy. They want you to explore, what do you like? What are you into? What are you not into? They want you to try new things. They want you to, like, one of my friends is trying guitar. I'm like, awesome. Another one of my friends is learning how to play the drums. Awesome. Try it. See if you like it. Maybe you're good at it. Maybe you're not. Who cares? Try it. People that are emotionally safe, they want you to have a sense of autonomy. They want you to do the things that allow you to operate independently. Unsafe people don't like when you start moving independently because now they can't control you. Now they can't see what you're doing. Emotionally safe people encourage it. They're like, oh, you're learning how to play the guitar? Let me know if you have a recital. I'm in the audience, right? Also, they're honest and transparent. Honesty and transparency are not interchangeable. They are cousins. They are very close cousins. Honesty tells the truth about a situation. Transparency gives background information that is more than just honesty. You can be honest without being transparent. Okay. Can't really be transparent without being honest. Honesty or transparency requires honesty. So we like people that are both, people that will tell you the truth and also give you enough background and context that you have a full picture of what's going on. Honesty is like, hey, I don't have too much money. Full transparency is I ran into something like a larger problem and I'm digging myself out of a hole. Right? That's a bit of transparency. Trans honesty is I don't like when people say that to me. Transparency is, I went through some things and I found out to be alarming. I'm still working through it, but this is kind of a little bit of a background. Again, not saying that it's not the same as what I said about empathy and explicit proof. You can still express empathy to a person while they're being, we're not requiring all the ugly details in order to get empathy, and that's not transparency. Okay. Transparency is not giving all the ugly details. There's a difference. But we like honesty and we like transparency. And healthy, emotionally safe people, they care about you. There's no question. You don't have a question in your mind about whether or not they care about you. You know, based on their words, based on their actions, based on how you feel when you're with them, based on other people's observation of you two's interaction, you know that they care about you. You know that. And that is part of what makes them emotionally safe. So, like I said, as I went through that list, I hope that you thought about some people. You kind of have some people in mind. So, even if you don't feel like you have a lot of emotionally safe people around you, you can identify what does it look like in action. No one person is going to embody all of these traits all the time. Loved ones will hurt you. They're not doing it intentionally. Okay. People that love you will hurt you because they are human. So we want to look for people that overall have the majority of these qualities. Like, well, you know what? That person has always kind of shown up for me. They do have good character. They do have empathy. No, they do. They are pretty honest and transparent. Maybe they're not as warm, but they are reliable. Right? We don't expect any one person to have all of these traits. And we also don't expect any one person to have all of these traits all of the time. That's not realistic either. But we're looking for people that embody the majority of these traits for the most part. So I hope that you have somebody in mind, and I hope you have some of their characteristics in mind so that you can start to look for those characteristics in other people and kind of expand those people in your life. How do I get there? You seek them out. That's why I said I wanted you to have a person in mind, a little bit of muscle memory. So that way, as you are building relationships and you are continuing to kind of pick your apples and determine what's going to go home with you in your barrel, you have an idea of what it looks like in action. What does it look like when a friend is emotionally safe versus emotionally unsafe? So now you have it in your head, right? Okay, this is what I'm looking for. So then you go out and you seek out people with those qualities and with those characteristics. The difference is before, if you didn't have a picture of safe versus unsafe, you just let whatever fell into your lap fall into your lap. And you would also select unsafe people because you didn't know how to distinguish between safe and unsafe. So now that you know, how do I find them? You have to go seek them out. You can pray that God blesses you with people, but also God honors your steps. God wants to work together with you. So as you pray, God, send me healthy friends, send me healthy relationships, send me healthy family, send me a healthy working environment. You also need to actively go out and do some things to actually seek these people out. Vet them with grace. Yes, you are holding people up to a standard of like, I want to be treated a certain way. I want empathy. I want people to be honest and transparent. Yes, all of those things stand, but you need to vet people with grace. Okay. People are human. People are flawed. So you hold people to a standard, but you do it with like, you know what? I'm going to take into consideration that this person has feelings and they probably didn't mean to do that. So I'm going to give somebody the benefit of the doubt because 99% of their character shows that they are an amazing person. But this is just something that's maybe not gelling for me. So I'm going to vet them with grace. I'm paying attention to things. I'm noticing what's happening, but I'm also extending some grace for humanity. And then I need you to heal the parts of you that resist safety. Now, this is where the one-on-one therapy kicks in. Okay. A lot of what I do with my clients in one-on-one therapy is we sit down together and over a period of time, we really chip away at what is it about you where your heart is so guarded, where your nervous system thinks there's no way that I can let somebody in. There's no way that I can trust people. And you start to rely on the memories that you have of times where somebody broke your trust or someone hurt your feelings that says it's not safe to build healthy connections with other people. Heal the parts of you that resist safety. This can be done personally, but I highly recommend that you work with someone one on one. It will completely speed up the process versus you trying to heal yourself. And seal your leak. In last week, January 21st, happy hour, I talked about sealing your leak in terms of somebody can pour into you and pour into you. But if you have a leak on the other side in the form of a deep-seated insecurity or a deep-seated belief about yourself, that makes it so that you cannot receive the love and affection that somebody is trying to give to you. Somebody's trying to pour into you and you have a leak on the other side. So everything that they pour into you just keeps slowly dripping out on the other side. Address the hurt that prevents you from accepting love. Sometimes it's not that the people are unsafe. Sometimes it's that the people are relatively safe, but you just got something broken, something hurt for you that if we seal that up, you'd be able to receive the love and affection that people are trying to give you. Okay, I do believe that that is it for the day. Again, my name is Dr. Glenna. Thank you very much for coming to the happy hour. I'm currently accepting new clients in the state of California. You can visit my website, drglenna.net. You can put in your information there, and I would be more than happy to meet with you. And this is where I'm going to stop the recording. And thank you very much for coming to the happy hour.